Hello and welcome to Pop and Fig. In this video, I will go over everything you need to know before you watch The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I will only use these movies as reference, so there will be no spoilers from the trailers nor the marketing. I will be generally following the story of Captain America, but I am of course highlighting Sam and Bucky's characters effectively. So without further ado, let's review. We begin our adventure with Captain America the First Avenger, where we are introduced to a skinny Steve Rogers and his childhood friend, James Buchanan Barnes, or Bucky. Bucky gets deployed to Europe with the army, and Steve, because of his good character, is chosen to be the first American super soldier, the only other super soldier being Hydra's leader known as the Red Skull. The procedure works, but a Hydra spy tries to steal the remaining vial of super soldier serum and kills Dr. Erskine, but Steve catches up to him and the vial is broken. Because Dr. Erskine was the driving genius behind Project Rebirth, no more super soldiers can be made. Steve is initially sidelined for safety, but when he hears Bucky and his battalion are locked up, he springs into action, breaks his comrades free, and finds that Bucky has been experimented on by Hydra's head scientist, Arnim Zola. Steve is congratulated for the rescue, is given his iconic vibranium shield, which is the toughest and rarest metal on Earth, and forms the Howling Commandos with he and Bucky in it. On a special mission to capture Arnim Zola, the plan goes awry and Bucky seemingly falls to his death. Steve then beats the Red Skull, wins the rest of the war, and is frozen in ice until he reawakens nearly 70 years later. The only things of note that I believe we need from the Avengers is the formation of the titular team, the fact that an alien battle occurred, and if Steve's return wasn't public knowledge before, it definitely is now. In the beginning of Captain America the Winter Soldier, Steve interacts with Sam Wilson on one of his workouts and spends some time to actually get to know him, learning about his time in the service and how he runs a support group. Other than this, he learns about the Howling Commando's legacy in a Captain America museum and catches up with Peggy Carter, his love interest during the war. After the war, she had helped found an organization called S.H.I.E.L.D., which ended up gathering the Avengers and who Steve currently carries missions out for, as seen with the ship recapture at the beginning of the movie. Preamble aside, Steve has a run-in with this advanced assassin, things seem fishy with S.H.I.E.L.D. and they start betraying him. He and fellow Avenger Black Widow discover that Hydra has been secretly growing within S.H.I.E.L.D. They survive a bombing run, then turn to Sam because he's someone they can trust. Sam puts his Falcon wings back on.
I thought you said you were a pilot. I never said pilot.
And they have another run-in with the super soldier who turns out to be none other than Bucky. To concisely explain, Bucky survived his fall, was found by Hydra with a broken or lost arm, is given a new robotic arm, brainwashed, and was frozen until whenever needed, thus becoming the Winter Soldier.
He said it! He said it!
At some point, he was made a super soldier, putting his strength up there with Steve, and from what I've seen, it started during those initial Hydra tests. As for the rest of the movie, Steve and his crew disable the new helicarriers and force them to destroy themselves so that Hydra can't use them. Black Widow leaks all of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra's secrets to the internet, and Steve and Bucky have a confrontation that results in Bucky beginning to break free, and Bucky saves Steve from drowning. The movie ends with S.H.I.E.L.D. disbanded, Hydra is on their own, Steve and Sam begin their search for Bucky, and Bucky is learning about himself in the Captain America Museum. In Avengers Age of Ultron, the Avengers take out Hydra's final base, Iron Man creates an AI named Ultron that goes rogue and genocidal, Ultron steals stolen vibranium off of Ulysses' Claw, begins creating a new body for himself composed of vibranium and flesh, the Avengers steal it and it becomes its own entity named Vision. Ultron raises a city in Sokovia towards the sky so he can drop it and meteor the planet. The Avengers evacuate everyone and destroy the city before it can collide, and Sam is on the roster of New Avengers. He is also towards the beginning of the movie where he and Steve catch up for a bit. In Ant-Man, Sam is an obstacle for the hero since Ant-Man needs to get a part that the Avengers have stored somewhere. Considering this movie is not a Falcon movie, Ant-Man comes out on top, but he remains on Sam's radar. Now we arrive to Captain America's Civil War. The Avengers have an opening mission, and we get our first look at Sam's drone Red Wing, and they all mess up big time when casualties rack up. The Avengers are shown their not so great collateral track record, and are given the Sokovia Accords, a request from the United Nations for the Avengers to either fall under their authority or to retire. Steve and Sam are not in favor of the Accords since they believe it'll interfere with their effectiveness, but Steve gets a message saying Peggy has passed away. At Peggy's funeral, Steve and Sam learn that Sharon Carter, a good S.H.I.E.L.D. agent from the last Cap movie, is actually Peggy's niece. Skimming for a bit, Black Widow goes to the UN assembly in Vienna where a bombing occurs and Bucky is framed on the news. Steve and Sam try to help Bucky. The Black Panther is after them because his father was killed in the bombing, and they get arrested with the shield and wings taken away, and Bucky's interviewer is silently replaced with Helmut Zemo. Zemo was a part of Sokovian intelligence and has a vendetta against the Avengers because his family was killed by the collateral of the Avengers' fight with Ultron. With this hatred towards superhumans and Hydra's leaked secrets, he learned about the existence of the other Winter Soldiers. You may be asking yourselves, what? And yes, there are more Winter Soldiers. In 1991, Hydra got a hold of new super soldier serums and juiced up some of their most dangerous killers, but they too were put on ice when not in use. Zemo finds the book used to condition the Winter Soldiers, reads out the code words so Bucky will be obedient, and has him tell him where the other super soldiers are. Going back to skimming, Steve and Sam chase after an escaped and brainwashed Bucky, recoup and learn Bucky remembers most of his past now, conclude Zemo wants to use the Winter Soldiers, ask Sharon to retrieve their shield and wings at the risk of her going on the run, this kiss that does not age well, and call in other Avengers and Ant-Man for favors. Iron Man assembles his team to track them down, and the two teams come out ahead at an airport in Germany, ending with Steve and Bucky flying to Moscow, the rest of the team arrested, and War Machine surviving a dangerous fall that results in paralysis from the waist down. Team Cap is held in the Raft, a high-security prison. Iron Man realizes Steve is right about Bucky being innocent and asks where he went. They find Zemo and discover he killed the Winter Soldiers. Zemo shows them the footage of Bucky killing Iron Man's parents, leading to another fight and the dropping of this cold line.
Do you even remember them? I remember all of them.
Black Panther is also there and stops Zemo from committing Sudoku so he can be properly tried. Iron Man blasts Bucky's metal arm off, Steve totals Iron Man's suit, and he leaves the shield behind out of respect for Howard. As for the ending bits, the Avengers remain divided. Steve breaks the rest of his team out of the Raft, outside of Hawkeye and Ant-Man because they chose to be on house arrest. And Black Panther offers to have Bucky stay in Wakanda so they can deprogram Hydra's code words from his head. In Black Panther, we learn more about Wakanda and how they are secretly the most technologically advanced civilization on the planet. The rest of the world knows that vibranium is only found in Wakanda and believes there is no more left, but Wakanda uses it in nearly everything and they still have plenty left over. Ultimately, the Wakandans have a new king, Wakanda becomes a little more public, and we see Bucky chilling there and living life. Now, we arrive to Avengers Infinity War. Just focus on the Captain America and Co's role, they save Vision from these two aliens and realize they want Vision's forehead crystal. In case you don't know or need a refresher, Ultron placed an Infinity Stone inside Vision's head, and these two aliens serve an even badder alien named Thanos, and Thanos wants all 6 Infinity Stones. Steve concludes that the best thing to do is to take Vision to Wakanda so they can safely remove the stone and defend him in a more secure place. Bucky is called to duty
The White Wolf has rested long enough.
and is given a new vibranium arm,
Where does it fight?
but he also gets to fight alongside Steve again. In the end, Thanos arrives and gets Vision's stone, and with all 6 Infinity Stones and a snap of his fingers, half of all life across the universe begins to turn to dust. Bucky is the first one we see turn to dust and in front of Steve, and Sam too returns to the Earth. And with this devastating loss,
We're in the Endgame now.
Yeah, there it is! There it is!
in Avengers Endgame, the Avengers cannot simply control Z, Thanos' actions, because he destroyed the Infinity Stones after he used them, so nothing could be done for 5 whole years. Thanks to Ant-Man though, the Avengers discover that time travel is possible, and they use it to borrow Infinity Stones from the past, and with their own gauntlet, they bring everybody back who was snapped. A past Thanos came through as well, and the reason a past version is scary is because the present one was killed off, and this one has all of his armies at his disposal. Avengers Campus is laid waste to, and Steve's shield is shattered, but when all hope seems lost,
Captain Sam, you hear me? On your left.
all of our heroes are here to help, and that includes Sam and Bucky. Skipping to the end of the fight, Iron Man uses the stones to dust Thanos' army away, but it kills himself in the process. Steve volunteers to return everything back to their proper times, but he extends what should be a momentary goodbye to Bucky and Sam before he dips into the past, but he does not return. Bucky seems to have known this and is not surprised to see an old Steve nearby. Steve had chosen to stay in the past with Peggy, hence the aging like milk, but he is here right now so we can hand the shield off to Sam and give him the title of Captain America. I could leave this here, but I should touch on a small thing from Spider-Man Far From Home. The universal event of the 2 snaps and everyone disappearing for 5 years and then abruptly reappearing now has a name.
They called it the Blip.
This got its name because while half of the population aged for 5 years, the other half effectively blipped from one period of time to another.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
So that should be everything you need to know leading into this series, ranging from Bucky's dark and complex past and Sam's role as Captain America's wingman, pun intended. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more recaps and content just like this. That is all, so with that, sayonara.